in this episode of Sailing Bohemia.
Serves me right here. This morning I was saying, let's hope the wind will last. Now you've got too much.
Well, Captain and First Mate now cowering under the Dodger and clinging on for dear life. Oh dear, he didn't last long, bless him.
We are about 20 miles into Guatemalan waters. No pirates anywhere, so that's a good news. And it's a really short coast, and there's no anchorages and only one port, Puerto Quetzal. And we inquired, but to check in and check out, it would come to nearly $500. And we would only want to stay for about 3 or 4 days. So we can't really justify that cost. I don't know. Looks like Captain's work visa didn't come through either, did it?
Would love to do something, but I'm afraid I'm unemployable in these waters. Oh, I've got to say, these dog beds, he's hit the nail on the head with that. I can't wait to get the other one out and settle in for the night shift.
We love the spinnaker, Tucker. It allows us to sail much closer to the wind, like easily around 50 degrees. We're already doing 5.5 knot speed, and the wind is at 50-degree angle, so not bad at all.
We're getting about 9 knots of apparent wind. Now we've got the spinnaker flying, so it's increased in strength, and since our speed has increased with it, it's coming around a bit too far forward. But it's actually just fine. We're managing 6 knots, 5.8 over ground, so that's just perfect. Long may it continue.
This is insane. Look what happened to my big gun. This is the biggest lure I have, and some Guatemalan Monster must have taken it because it totally ripped one hook and the other one is nowhere to be seen. I need to beef it up. Must have been a shark or God knows what. Guatemalan Monster.
Finally, the King of Bohemia sits on his throne. This is just gorgeous. At last the land breeze arrived, and we're getting about 10 knots blowing down the mountains of Guatemala. It's about 15-20 miles to our port side there, and we're just gliding along effortlessly at the moment. We're keeping our average speed over ground above 6 knots thanks to the wind, and we have a favorable current for once. It's over a knot of current, maybe even up to 2 knots. So this is just perfect conditions. The seas have calmed down a little bit as well. So yeah, no complaints from the captain so far. Just going to sit back, make myself comfortable, and watch the world go by. Good night.
I'm being treated to another glorious sunrise. It's 6:30 in the morning. and the night shift was great. The wind was consistent, and it still is, blowing about 12 knots, but it's starting to slowly but surely round up a bit. So I'm pinching a bit now, and let's hope it doesn't change direction any further, otherwise we will have to be tacking and going further into the ocean. We are already about 24 miles offshore, so we're not really too keen to go further. I have no idea what the weather forecast is for today. Tom downloaded the weather forecast. We have no internet here, so hopefully it's going to be an energetic day of sailing rather than motoring. Boundless is behind us, about 2 miles. In about 3 hours we should be departing Guatemalan waters and entering El Salvador, which we may actually stop and anchor, all depending on the conditions of the sea and the weather. Very unclear at the moment. I'm just focusing on today. Breakfast, lunch and dinner. Soon I'm gonna wake up the captain with the coffee and a breakfast service. The captain's happiness is my top priority, as he often tells me. Uh-oh. I did wish for the wind, and suddenly it's gusting to 20, 80 knots consistent. We are heeling like crazy. I just hear this moaning from down below. That overheeling woken up the captain. Oh dear. Well, you either want to sail at 7.5 knots or you don't. You know, just a little heel at 7 AM. Best wake up call for the captain, isn't it? Morning.
Oh dear. I was having a lovely dream where I got upgraded to business class with a flat bed and a memory foam mattress. And then suddenly all this turbulence kicked in and I felt like we were dropping out of the sky. Well, it sounds like the captain's needed on deck to get all this heeling under control.
I don't know what he means. Everything is absolutely under control. He said go fast, I'm going fast.
We forgot to take the spinnaker bag in off the foredeck, and apparently it's soaking wet with salt water. Not our finest moment. First mate to the rescue.
It's all soaking wet with seawater. More job for housekeeping, eh? Half job captain didn't bring it in last night. Ooh, it's a bit racy.
Let's take a couple of feet off the main and see what we can do. I think this is definitely a preview of the Papagayo Winds that we have waiting for us. Just 100 miles that way.
Serves me right here. This morning I was saying, let's hope the wind will last. Now you've got too much, too much.
Should always be worried when your water bottle starts whistling at you. captain and first mate now, cowering under the Dodger and clinging on for dear life. This looks to be the Papagayo Winds, which we were expecting about 200 miles ahead of us. Not on this passage, on the next passage. And they've started much sooner than we anticipated and much sooner than the forecast suggested. So it just goes to show, I think when you're sailing in this area, you can't leave anything to chance. A lot of people have said, we've had friends that have gone ahead, they've said that the forecasts are really inaccurate for predicting these papagayos. So the tactics for dealing with them are pretty simple. Because they blow over the land, we are closing the gap now between ourselves and the land. And the idea is that'll reduce the fetch for this sea state and make things a bit more comfortable. There's not a horrendous amount of wind we're seeing today, gusting to 28 knots. So not horrific, but we are going into that weather. And there's a 2 knot of current that we were riding down here. So when the wind grates against that current in the sea, then it really gets whipped up and furious like you see today. Another hour punching in towards the coast and gin and tonic service will be resumed again.
I'm getting ready for the emergency deposit. Deep breath, deep breath.
See if the helmet fixes it. Oh dear, he didn't last long, bless him.
Why have I done to deserve this? It's a punishment for first mates for justice.
Okay, starting to calm down a little bit as we close the gap and move towards the land. And I came down here to tidy up and do what we should have done before all this started. All our possessions are everywhere. There's stuff I haven't seen in years that's just flown out of random cupboards and found its way onto the floor. And hopefully nothing damaged. I think we got off quite lightly. My guitar had dislodged itself from the V-berth and made its way into the middle of the room. Bit too early for a performance though. Wow, and all that before breakfast. It's a bit of a wake-up call. First matey's feeling a little bit better. More human in the cockpit.
Still not doing any breakfast.
Worth a shot, wasn't it?
Every guidebook says, beware of the Papagayo's winds, stay close to shore. And what happens? We are 22-24 miles offshore and boom, there he was. So we are about 5 miles away offshore now, and I think that's how he's going to stay for the rest of the journey. We still have 188 miles to go, and I just cannot imagine that what we experienced this morning happened middle of the night in total darkness. Whew. I'm feeling much better now. Head on apple. Not much of an ocean buffet, is it?
I'm sure morning coffees will be delivered momentarily.
That's my gentle hint, get down to the galley. Normal service resumed.
That's right. He does get the gentle hints after all. I was beginning to wonder.
I feel like a human again. So coffee's coming up. Captain will be happy.
Ah, look at that. We got our first mate back again. Oh, I did miss him. Mainly I missed the coffee. It's like a whole new day. I can just taste the crystals of salt around my lips to remind me that this morning actually happened. It's been a while since we got that much of a shower in the cockpit. It's crazy the conditions out here. So it just goes to show we can't take anything for granted from this point until we reach Costa Rica. The winds are a little bit erratic and very difficult to forecast. So we're gonna hug the shore for dear life.
Otherwise I'm out. I deployed the life raft and I'm out. Out and proud.
Well, the sails are in, the engine is on, and the captain has his motoring face on again. Yeah, that's his motoring face. It's not great, but it is what it is. We don't want a repeat performance of this morning, the early hours of this morning, where we found ourselves way too far offshore and these crazy winds started blowing and whipping the seas up. We want to put ourselves no more than about 15 miles offshore, I would say, just in case this happens again when the sun goes down. We've heard from reliable sources that it will. It's a little bit of a crazy phenomenon that happens here. So not only do we have the strengthened Caribbean trade winds funneling over the gaps in the mountains, but we also have a day and night land breeze effect, which combines with that. So in the daytime, the land heats up and they lift these Papagayo winds up into the upper atmosphere, and then they land again offshore. So if you're sailing down the coast, you hardly feel anything. Hence, we have the engine on, and we've got 6 knots right now. Then come the evening and overnight, the land cools down and that thermal wind has less of an effect, and the winds just howl straight through. So I think pretty reliably every night in these gap zones, we're going to see some pretty strong gusts and some pretty nasty sea state. So that's the strategy as it stands. Let's see how it shakes out. First mate's back to his usual self, which is fantastic. He's already scurried off into the galley to prepare some sandwiches for lunch. The boat is still rocking like crazy, so I don't envy him. Hopefully he doesn't spend too long down there. I don't want a repeat performance.
It's not much. I'm afraid no hot meal today. After this morning performance, I just hope I can hold it down. On a positive side though, I'm only one seasickness away from my perfect body weight.
Special thanks in this episode go to our latest patrons for keeping Bohemia's liquor locker brimming with creativity. Thank you to Patrick and Lynn from Texas. Patrick loves boating, and Lynn, we're sure you're about to be converted any day now, but maybe skip the next couple of episodes if you're still on the fence. Thank you so much, and here's to you both.
Woo! Cheers!
Cheers!
Oh god, that's El Strongo.
I've got a flamingo in my eye. If you enjoyed this video, then please tell YouTube all about it by subscribing to the channel, commenting, liking, and sharing. See you next time.